Good afternoon. My name is Rich Williams. I am a Senior Vice President with Tredence, and I am joined today by three very special guests. We are going to talk about a really interesting problem that we've all been working on over the past 3 years at Norwegian Cruise Lines, solving a really big digital transformation challenge that the company faced. So we're going to talk about that today, and what was the background and what was the solution, what did we do, what were the results, what have we learned? Hope to have a really interesting conversation with these experts to share with you. I am joined today by Ronaldo Calzadilla, who is Vice President of Enterprise Data and Marketing Technology, otherwise known as MarTech at Norwegian Cruise Lines. On my left here is Whitney Hawthorne. She is the Global Head of Travel and Hospitality at Snowflake. And on my right is Hutokshi Setna, who is our Head of Travel and Hospitality at Tredence. So I am very excited to have this conversation today. Thank you all for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun and interesting. Ronaldo, maybe you can get us started by just telling us a little bit about Norwegian Cruise Lines. What do you guys do? Who are your customers? And we'll go from there.
Right, wonderful, and I'm very happy to be here. Norwegian Cruise Lines Holdings is a publicly traded company, a leader in the cruise industry, and they operate three cruise line brands. We'll start with NCL. It's our contemporary brand. It is focused on a very fun-filled experience. It caters to families, groups, and couples as well. And they're really the innovators of the concept of freestyle cruising, which really allows the guests to adjust their schedules while on board, while visiting a lot of exciting destinations. Then we have Oceania Cruise Lines. They cater to the premier segment. They're very focused on gourmet dining experience and immersive itineraries. And it's just that next level experience from a cruising perspective. And Region 7 Seas, they're known for unrivaled experiences. It is our ultra luxury cruise line. What you get there is unmatched, right? It's exceptional service and just unparalleled exclusivity, and the experiences on each one of their destinations is just very unique. And so we're looking at, when you step back, three cruise line companies that are catering to different guest experiences, very unique brands. And so from a technology perspective, how do we architect? And this is what we're going to talk about, a customer data platform that can support operationally all of the requirements, be very efficient, lean in its architecture, but at the same time, be able to customize and allow them to reach their target, their intended audience, and really reflect the value that each one of these brands delivers.
Great. So maybe we just dive into that. What was as you kind of elaborated on the three different brands, talk a little bit about your vision. You took over this program in the summer of 2021 when we first met. What were you dealing with at the time, and what was the vision and the problem you were really trying to solve?
Yeah. We were just trying to go to market faster, right? Be able to market to our guests in a quicker way, find the right segments, the activations to be swift, and then be able to report and have analytics on it. And the reality was that we were challenged with an architecture that was outdated. It had been developed 12 years back. It was hosted by a third party. There were disparate databases, and just with various teams along the way of developers. The architecture just wasn't nimble. At times, it was hard to make heads or tails out of it. So we just knew that we needed to start from scratch. We really needed to reimagine what a marketing technology stack would look like. And so our vision was, hey, let's go ahead and build something that's guest or contact-centric, right? And to meet not just meet the requirements and solve pain points, but then really to be able to open up these data science capabilities that you see with a lot of more modern marketing technology stacks.
So you picked Snowflake for the foundation of the solution. What were the things that led you down the path of fix Snowflake?
Yeah, great question, Rich. Snowflake just has a lot of innate capabilities that are modern. It's a cloud-based solution, and a lot of the capabilities and features just lended itself to the architecture that we were trying to build out. So it was like immediate value provided to us. One of the greatest benefits that we've had with Snowflake is the ability to data share with one of our partners that's also on the architecture, and that partner is a strategic partner of ours that provides our identity resolution, data cleansing, hygiene, It's a data service that is critical for marketing technologists, and it helps us curate that golden record for marketing. And there's a lot of implications to that, right? You want to make sure that you're able to reach that audience with the highest quality data, know who they are, and also, from a regulatory compliance privacy perspective, you want to be able to attend to those privacy requests as well. So having identity resolution is a very critical component. Snowflake provides that seamless architecture for data sharing in a very secure manner as well. And then another thing is a lot of our campaigns across the 3 cruise line brands, they vary in complexity. And they're very different from one another. So at times we have very straightforward campaigns across different channels. At other times we have very complex campaigns. And Snowflake affords us this innate ability to scale the resources. It auto-scales the resources down and up and optimizes our costs. So it really reduces a lot of our overhead. And again, it's able to meet the demands that we have as we're trying to activate. What I would say is that not that it was an intended primary objective of the implementation of the CDP, but maybe second or third in priority. But when we look at the total cost of ownership on the customer data platform sitting on Snowflake with another application layer that's just above it, it actually costs less for us to implement and operate than what we had originally. So it's an incredible forward-looking modern solution that is very optimal to the changes in the business needs.
That's amazing. And maybe you can elaborate a little bit on just the tri-branded nature of the problem. What were some of the unique challenges with respect to being tri-branded that you had to consider as part of that vision?
Yeah. So each of them have a different go-to-market approach, but they were also feeding from different source systems, and there's a learning aspect when they're developing their own campaigns. And at times, some of the brands would share a lot of, hey, listen, this is how I go to the market, these type of campaigns that we're trying to run, and there are learnings there. But if you're dealing with different architectures, the level of effort to build out the data models that existed before to accommodate for those new use cases, it was very cost prohibitive. The level of effort was substantial. So, we had to really reimagine, okay, well, what do we build? How do we build something that is this, regardless of source systems across the 3 cruise line companies, a model that works for everyone, but at the same time has the ability to be tailored, customized, and for them to be able to activate on their customer data.
Got it. So it's a really unique problem that Norwegian has, given that you have 3 brands and 3 very distinct customer sets as well. Okay, I'm going to toss this one over to Whitney. You can expand on the benefits. So you understand the problem that Norwegian's trying to solve with their tri-branded data model, the challenges they're facing. I'm sure you see this a lot with other hospitality companies. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit about what Snowflake can do, the capabilities Snowflake brings to the table that can help enable these visions into reality.
Yeah, I first want to say Norwegian Cruise Lines has done an amazing, highly impressive job. I'm new to Snowflake, and when I came in and started reading about the work that they've done to really become a data-led company, and not just to say it, but to actually actualize it and operationalize it, it's really impressive. And that's one of the reasons I'm so glad to be at Snowflake, because Snowflake can help companies who have this vision and the capability and the leadership to actually drive in that direction get to where they're going a little bit faster. And one of the ways we do that is by having a data platform where all your data can sit together. That's the most important part, I think, is having that unified data that you can then easily share across, whether it's across departments, across brands, or even with your partner companies in a safe way where you can mask that sensitive data to make sure that you are able to leverage the data for insights, right, that then let you to take actions.
Right. Thank you. We've really enjoyed working with Snowflake too on this project. It's been a great partnership. Your team, Dan Coletti, call him out. He's been a fantastic partner for Snowflake. Working with us over the past 3 years. It's been a great overall experience. So let's move on to the actual work, right? So you have the problem. We've selected Snowflake as the technology partner. That's the easy part. Now we have to actually implement this solution. Ronaldo, this is a very complex problem, right? Given the complexity, what was your approach? And we started talking to you really early. I mean, I think I met you one of your first weeks on the job, probably, right? and you really kind of took this over from the very beginning. How did you think about it, and what were some of the things that were going through your head as you've made the technology decision, but now you have to put it all together?
Yeah.
Maybe you can walk us through kind of how you were thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. And so one of the thoughts that we had was, while we're changing a foundational system of the enterprise, and it doesn't affect just one company, it affects 3 companies, right? And so they were very used to that legacy stack. So how do we enable that change? And so our big focal point was to really work with our stakeholders, really get their sponsorship from the onset, and talk about, is this the right journey that we want to go down? Because it's going to take a lot from us. It's not just that we bring in an implementation partner and that we have the technology architecture to support us, but also every one of these teams have their day jobs, and they're going to have to put in additional effort to be involved and provide us the requirements and explain their aspirations. So collectively, we all recognized that we needed to move away from the stack that we had, and that we were going to make this investment. So that commitment from the very beginning was critical, and having the brand marketing teams involved was a critical component for us throughout the implementation. Also, it requires us to have a very strong internal team led by the wonderful Sarah Blakesley. She was able to really shepherd us all and with our partners through this journey, and really collaborate with the brand marketing teams, and make sure that we identified all the pain points and all the requirements for us to be able to deliver on something that was a tri-branded solution. And of course, none of this could have been possible without without Tredence, our systems integrator. I mean, Tredence, they bring a wealth of knowledge. They have a lot of subject matter expertise in this domain. Their engineers are quite remarkable, and the team that they put together was spectacular. One of the things I do want to particularly mention about Tredence is that it is an AI-first company. And as we were all caught up in the pain points and the things we wanted to solve and the requirements we wanted to capture and make sure that we had, at the very least, a minimum viable product, Tredence was always thinking with the end in sight. They said, you know what, think about also long term. And what kind of data science capabilities are you going to be able to unlock? So what does the architecture need to look like today? What do we need to build so that we can unlock those capabilities down the road?
That's great. And what was it that led you to ultimately, I mean, we're grateful that you picked us to be your implementation partner. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on kind of some of the reasons that you did during that process.
Yeah, as part of the selection process, Tredence really was able to articulate an end-to-end solution. Tredence had a lot of experience with bespoke CDPs. And so for us, knowing that we wanted to lean on certain applications that were already part of the enterprise technology stack, we knew that Tredence kind of knew what was going to be the inner workings, what was going to be necessary to make this thing come to life, the CDP really to be operational. And so having created bespoke solutions and worked with larger platforms, they were able to really guide us as to where within the stack certain things should reside, whether it be, where should the data reside, how should it be organized, modeled, what are the different clusters of the customer data platform, but then also, what should reside at the application layer, right? And what gives us the most amount of self-service capabilities without bogging down the system, something that's very agile and nimble for us to be able to activate on.
Got it. Well, you've been a great partner, Ronaldo, and we thank you again for having us be part of this journey with you. I'm going to pass it over to Hitakshi to talk a little bit about that journey and the role we've played from an implementation perspective. Maybe you can talk about, there's a lot of different things we could, explore here, but maybe talk about the data model. I think that was a big part of the reason why Norwegian picked us to go with as a partner in the first place. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, and then we can go to some other topics.
Yeah. Thank you, Ronaldo, for the trust you placed in us for doing this large transformation. Right. So, Tredence, we have solution accelerators that help enterprises reduce their time to value. For NCLH, we architected and helped them launch this solution for customer data and marketing technology. But we didn't just look at this as a marketing problem, but really as a way to revamp the way NCLH looks at their customer data. So if I had to think about the work that we did, it falls in 3 big buckets. The first is the customer data model, right? That's becomes the single source of truth for everything customer related at NCL. And not just looking at marketing, but also, all of the downstream applications, the reporting, the analytics, the data science, customer support, personalization use cases that you want to run off of customer data. The second was the activation, right? So making sure that we understand the marketing use cases so that we can automate them and integrate Snowflake into the downstream applications. We used Snowflake's capabilities to enable things that the business needed with self-service, segmentation, feature creation, governance around the campaigns that enabled us to automate and scale these campaigns to enable them to execute. And the third was the measurement, right? So you don't only want to run these campaigns, but also measure the performance of these campaigns and optimize downstream. So we had to bring back the campaign performance data into Snowflake and build the reporting and analytics on top of it to enable you to then personalize the journeys for your customers, learning from your current campaign performance.
In terms of some of the future use cases too, right? We talk about self-service. How can this platform be used to enable self-service, and in what form?
That comes to the second part of the process, which is once you've built this customer data, you need to integrate it with the downstream applications that are going to access this data. And using Snowflake's capabilities, we were able to enable what the business needs, like your self-service segmentation, your feature creation, governance for the campaigns with the right automation and scaling to be able to execute these campaigns at scale. Marketers had a way to come in and create their own segments, check on the list pulls and the volumes before launching these campaigns, and then really bringing all of that campaign performance data back in and developing the reporting and analytics on top of it. So you can start customizing and personalizing the journeys based on your current campaign performance.
Okay, so we talked about self-service. Whitney, question for you. Maybe you can elaborate on how Snowflake enables these capabilities inside the organizations that are using Snowflake today.
Yeah, so the way that Snowflake is set up, with your structured or semi-structured data, you can very easily run SQL queries. But if you're not a SQL kind of person, this is my favorite part, is that there are APIs and connectors that make it very easy for the non-data-driven folks, the people who don't have that data background, to then actually leverage and use that data for insights, given the APIs and connectors that we have available. And I'm very curious, Ronaldo, how have you found taking the data that you have in your current model and using that across NCLH?
Yeah, data science doesn't just reside in any one team. It's something that's democratized. It's a lot of different teams in today's world really want to embrace data science, and so Snowflake allows for access in a secure way to the data models that reside in Snowflake. And it's been interesting to see how certain parts of the business have provisioned certain tools to enable the data science capabilities, and how they're able to seamlessly connect to Snowflake to just model their data, to do different scenario analysis, do different optimizations. And so it's quite fascinating to see how across the landscape folks are using the data, in Snowflake.
Yeah, and I do think that makes it a lot easier for organizations to quickly start to have each team leverage data to make their decisions. One of my favorite things about Snowflake is this idea of having your data stay in one place. So you're not sending your data to the workload, or you're not sending your data to the partner. It's always with you. You are always having control of it, which I think is really exciting given the world that we live in today and how important it is to keep your data safe and secure.
Absolutely. So what impact are you seeing now that you've implemented the solution?
Yeah, I think we're seeing quite a number of impacts, many of which we had expected. That was part of intention to reach those objectives, and some that have exceeded our expectations. When we think about self-service capabilities, that was something we were trying to unlock. In the old architecture, there was a lot of coordination of pulling lists or executing on campaigns between internal teams and external teams. And to be quite frank, the brand marketing teams didn't have the tools or the skill set, given the technology that was in place at the time, to be able to execute on their campaigns. And so with this new technology stack, and as part of the implementation, we did a series of workshops. We did a lot of training led by Tredence, led by our internal teams, and it really brought the skill set and a level of comfort for the brand marketing teams to be able to execute on their campaigns and alleviate my marketing technology team of some of those responsibilities. In which case, we've also been able to for the MarTech team, really spend a lot more time on much more value-added activities, just understanding the use cases, diving deeper into them, understanding, the CDP data model itself. How can it be augmented? How do we continue to evolve it and add to it, but in a controlled way, in a way that it makes sense for all three brands, where one brand decides they come up with a use case, a new feature that they would like, and all three can benefit from it, right? And that goes back to the knowledge sharing. So there's been a lot of benefits that we've been able to realize from that common data model. Another one I would say is, data cleanliness is very important, particularly with the regulatory compliance environment that we live in. GDPR, CCPA, this is very serious, and we need to be able to know that when a contact has a privacy request, we're able to identify their records and attend to them correctly, so that we're in compliance. So data privacy is something that's very important for us in that, again, Snowflake, the architecture, identity resolution, all these different features allow us to solve for that with a level of precision much greater than what we had in our prior stack. And two other things I would say is, we talked about the data science capabilities. We're really able to take another look, a fresh look, a much better look at our marketing spend, optimize across those channels. We're able to discover new micro segments that we can target that really add to our bookings. We can measure that projection against realizations, like did we realize what the model, the machine learning algorithm projected it would be based on a certain portfolio mix of micro segments. So are we seeing those bookings come through? And so that's been a game changer for us. The speed at which we can develop and deploy our data science capabilities is incredible. Like we're still in awe of it, and that obviously is led by our resident data scientist Connor Kukla, who's phenomenal, and he leads teams of data scientists and Tredence. You guys play a very large part in terms of all that AI enablement. We've had several engagements with you on this topic. And then the last thing is, again, the data model, how well architected the Tredence engineers were able to really build it for us, and that we're very familiar with the data. It's very intuitive, and that's something that's very important for our consumers. It's a consumable data model by various parties within our organization, obviously, as long as they have the right permissions. But there's a level of governance that goes around this. And our marketing analytics teams, led by Maria Orlova, who was a critical player in this, is able to look and leverage that underlying data model, but also has been able to build a reporting layer that has enabled the reporting and analytics to be a lot more robust and quicker. So there's been a lot of capabilities been unlocked there as well. So all in all, it's revolutionary when you compare it to what we had before. And we keep leaning into it, and there's a lot more to go too as well.
Yeah.
So just to add one thing, because you gave those three topics, right? Those three ideas where you now have this kind of revolutionary enhancement and how you're leveraging data. You're seeing a lot of business value from it. It sounds like your employees are also happier because of the type of work that they're doing and what they can do. And I think I heard you say earlier that you're getting it all for a lower total cost of ownership.
That's right.
Which is, I guess that's a big bonus.
It's a huge
in
bonus.
The project.
Right, and you can repurpose those funds for again, advancing some of these capabilities and really proving out the value of the architecture. So, it's interesting. I've been sitting with presentations to our executive leadership by the brand marketing teams, and they've been showcasing certain tools and how they're able to do just some scenario analysis and the AI that's embedded inside the tool. And we can trace that back to data feeds that are coming from Snowflake directly into that tool, that you're able to put a value to that data product and say, you know what, this is actually driving value.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right. What would you say led to the success of the initiative?
Yeah, I would say a very tight collaboration across many teams, internal teams and external teams. We have a network of partners that are just absolutely incredible. They know each other. They play extremely well. They've obviously invested in one another. And so we've realized those benefits. And then internally, we've had teams that have just, again, worked across the organization very well and with our partners. So a very strong program governance and a very strong focus on change management has been critical to our success.
Yeah, we've experienced that as well from our perspective. And Hitoshi, I'd like to hear from you as well. As the implementation partner, what was it that kind of really helped us succeed in this implementation?
Yeah, no, like Ronaldo said, the strong collaboration between all the different partners, Tredence, NCLH, Snowflake, that was key to our success. working with Snowflake to make sure that the solution we were building was, was efficient and was performing well, and NCLH enabling us to interact with the stakeholders in the right forums to really identify those pain points and understand what we need for a future-proof solution. Then to talk about how we actually built this, right? The reason I think we were successful and we were able to be impactful here is because we didn't approach this as a marketing automation problem or a system integration problem, but really took the opportunity to relook at, how do you enable customer data across the organization, right? And our solution accelerators brought down the time to build this. We used our accelerators for data quality, which Renato mentioned was important, and data ingestion during the build phase. And then our travel and hospitality unified data model, which really enabled us to build something that was industry-specific and future-proof, while also being able to customize this for NCLH's specific nuances across the different brands that NCL has.
Yeah, and I know from a Snowflake perspective, we've been engaging with Snowflake since 2021. Okay, we're talking about results, and a question for you, Ronaldo. So imagine you're in a room full of VPs of enterprise technology and data who have very similar problems to the ones you're having you had with your customer data. And of course, every company is unique and have their own unique problems, but what would be some advice that you would give to your peers who are trying to tackle a similar problem with the technology that they have? What would be some of the high-level, things to watch out for that you've learned over the last couple of years as you've embarked on this journey?
Yeah, I think that something that was a huge benefit to us was that we were really focusing in on a marketing technology, something that was going to enable our ability to segment our customers, our contacts, be able to activate, to be able to do reporting and analytics. And so that inherently has a very tight scope, right? When you work with the brand marketing teams, they can really tell you what exactly it is that they need. And within that, you can kind of read into what could you possibly give them that they haven't thought about. But what's very important, though, is to have a very tight scope in terms of what your solution is going to be. And so, this term data product is being tossed around a lot, and I really actually do believe in it. It is something that we should think about, because when you're trying to create an architecture that's trying to service all business areas, it really holds you back. There could be conflict in terms of definitions or measures, and at the end of the day, it really slows down the speed of delivery. Specifically for certain business areas. So to kind of make something a bit more standalone, to really tackle a very particular focused problem, and to be able to create enablement in that specific area of the business and that domain is something that's very strategic, and we're seeing a lot of benefits from taking that approach.
Great insights. Hitoshi, maybe from an implementation partner perspective, the same question to you, right? You have been working with Norwegian now for 3 years, overseeing this large implementation, working with partners, and Ronaldo and his team. What advice would you have for other consulting or implementation partners to lead and drive these types of initiatives?
Yeah. So I think what was really instrumental in our success was making sure everyone was on the same page with what we wanted to achieve, right? And that took a lot of, work that Ronaldo and your team did behind the scenes to get that organizational alignment to this future state vision, right? Because we were changing the way marketing was going to run their campaigns, and you're bringing all of this customer data together. You have to get a lot of different teams involved. So I think just having that clarity of vision and organizational support is critical. And then as you're going about this, not just lifting and shifting what you had as you migrate from, legacy to your modernized systems, but really thinking about what are the use cases that you want to solve in this modern framework, and then working backwards from there to build something that's set up for the future rather than just migrating what you already have.
Got it. Wonderful. And Whitney, over to you. Any thoughts for you and Ronaldo's peers? You're in the same room. What you've seen? Any advice you have? Lessons learned?
Yeah, I really just have to triple down on what they shared. So I've led large workforces. I was a chief customer officer. I was the vice president of customer support at JetBlue. I took them through their digital transformation from being a 1-800 contact center to true omnichannel. And the reason that, or the way that I ended up in that role was I used to march around because I was previously in IT and say it's 20% software, 80% change management, 20% software, 80% change management. Yeah. So no matter how great the platform, and I do believe Snowflake is an amazing, exceptional platform, and you all have said it too, no matter how great the partner, we can see the work that Tredence is doing, and no matter how smart and wonderful the leadership, right, that we can see here also with NCL, you have to pull it together and have that strong change management plan if you want things to go smoothly and effectively.
And I can vouch for Ronaldo. He's very good at this. I've seen him in action. He is very good at change management and making things happen. I've seen you implement a lot of really good habits inside the team, and I think that's contributed a lot to your point. It's the technology is one part, the implementation part is another, but I think you've set up a lot of very good habits inside your organization too that I know has been instrumental in driving this change too. So kudos to you for all of that, Ronaldo. I think that's important for any leader to understand too, that you got to have good corporate habits to implement. Yeah. That's how you get things done. Let's move to what's going to happen next. Where do we go from here? We've got this new technology. It's exciting. It's enabling all sorts of new capabilities at Norwegian. Where do you see this going now? We were 3 years into this journey. What do the next 3 years look like? And how do you start to build some of these new capabilities? We've got generative AI coming on Snowflake and all sorts of fascinating things you can start to do there. Where do you see this going in the next couple of years?
Yeah, interestingly, the CDP for us is the at the core of a lot of our solutions, and we're starting to really stretch our legs in terms of some of the capabilities that maybe at some point in time we couldn't even imagine was possible. And again, this is on more on the data science side, but even even on the execution, operationalizing certain capabilities, it's been great. I think we're starting to think of things not just from a marketing perspective, but now from a guest experience perspective. So how does the CDP really start to play with other technologies in the landscape that affect the guest journey? And so we're looking at, how can we reinforce the interplay between some of the other digital products like the website or the mobile app or that onboard experience. So we're really starting to explore this, a lot of brainstorming sessions, and again, how do we drive greater personalization at every step of the customer journey?
Yeah, and I know Snowflake has a lot of experience building these types of solutions as well. Anything you want to add to that, Whitney?
No, I think that's really the direction that I see a lot of travel and hospitality companies heading, which is thinking about truly this customer journey. What is that experience? Not just within my website, not just when you're interacting with my employees or, with my staff, not just when you're interacting with my product or my service, but what is it across that entire journey? And I think that's where you can start to think about leveraging AI to pull together what is the sentiment across each part of that journey. Where does it change, right? What is the actual employee feeling across the various parts of your organization, and how does that impact, right? How does that impact the outcome that the customer has?
Yeah, no, it's just so exciting what's coming down the pike with the technology and what it's going to enable, especially for data savvy end users. It's very exciting. Hitokshi, quick question for you on the customer 360. We do a lot in this space around personalization and AI and analytics on top of these customer 360 models. Any thoughts on the future of 360 at Norwegian based on the work we're doing?
Yeah, no. So I think similar to what Ronaldo was saying, right? The customer 360 becomes the central point of a lot of the operations that NCLH is doing. And I see the customer 360 playing a critical role in making all of these operations more customer-centric, being able to understand what the customer wants, not just pulling in their profile and behavior information, but also bringing in specific future predictions about what this customer is going to do, so that you can start using this in your decision making, whether it's planning your itineraries 2 or 3 years down the road, or deciding what onboard experience you want to give, or running your marketing campaigns. Right, all of that becomes customer centric. And as we start bringing in more of these customer touch points and bringing in the temporal aspects, we can start running generative AI algorithms on top of it, running more real-time decisioning capabilities, next best action, etc. So really exciting things coming ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Whitney, a question for you. In your role at Snowflake, you see a lot of companies in travel and hospitality. What are you seeing in terms of where companies are on their journey down this path, and where does NCLH fit into that sort of field?
Yeah, that's a great question, because the answer is I'm seeing customers all over the place. And when I say all over the place, all along the maturity curve. And I think it's a really pivotal time to understand where your company is on that maturity curve and understand how you're going to move up it, right? We've gone past COVID times. We've gone past revenge travel times. Now we're into more stable times. Stable times are great times for making long-term decisions. And your data strategy, how you're planning to leverage data, is something that if you haven't already tackled, you really need to. When I start thinking about NCLH, I think it's very impressive that in 2021, just coming off of what was the biggest year of the pandemic, they started this journey. And so it puts them ahead of where a lot of companies are. And what I am seeing is that those companies who started the journey early, like NCLH, are now able to have that forward-thinking momentum that drives them, coupled with the ability to internally operate, right, on the ideas around data and how you better leverage data, so that they can start shaping what travel looks like. And so I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer, like the forewarning person, but right, if your company isn't in a place right now that you are really thinking about how do I start to leverage data and take that data, democratize it across my organization, right? Really, truly start making our decisions as an organization based on data, then you're going to end up in a place where you are behind or just following companies like NCLH. That's the sad fact of where it is. There's no more time to start thinking about whether or not you want to go on a data journey. You really have to do it. And my one little soapbox I will get on is, please don't say that your company is generative AI driven and you're going to be doing all this generative AI stuff, but you don't have a data strategy in place. Because without data, without a strong data foundation, you really can't leverage generative AI in any way that will be helpful or useful to your company.
100% agree. And we see the exact same thing. It's garbage in, garbage out. You're not going to get anything out of it unless you have the foundation built first. So 100% agree with you.
Yeah, one thing I will add to that, and Whitney, that was phenomenal. I think that as part of being a company that's really invested in the quality of their data and really sees data as an asset, something to really invest on to propel them into the future. Obviously, we look for partners that understand that really are thinking forward. So when I think back to when we started this journey of the CDP, back in 2021, generative AI wasn't a thing, right? But we knew that Snowflake was always forward-looking, and look where we're at now. We have this very clean customer data platform data model, and Snowflake now has Cortex, right? And it's generative AI enablement tool, and our clean model is sitting right aside that's part of the architecture. It opens up the opportunities for us. So being very judicious, just really thinking about, hey, do your due diligence, find the right partners. Snowflake, Tredence, they're just going to get you ahead, right?
Awesome. No, I totally agree. Going on the topic of this technology and this big implementation, and I've heard this from other people inside the company, right? This was a big deal that you guys got this done and that it's live. And I think, how has that changed things internally at NCLH in terms of the mindset around implementing hard projects like this and getting stuff done like this? And the second is, where do you see this sort of expanding from here, right? So what's the next big thing to tackle that's could be an extension of the work that's already been done to date?
Yeah, absolutely. So I in terms of the marketing technology team, they're off to the races, right, with this brand new platform and really doing discovery and further evolving that data model. And so I've been spending time with the enterprise data management teams, really just trying to use the CDP itself as a case study. What was it about it that works so well? And I think one of the biggest learnings is that sometimes we just need to decompose things into smaller pieces and that are focused. And so working with my leads in the enterprise data side, Earl Acosta, Eva Barrios, Sandeep Sohal, there's a a thought leadership there that's sitting there thinking and conceptualizing of data solutions from a data product perspective and replicating a lot of the successes that we've seen with the CDP over on the enterprise data management side. And so we're focusing on the areas of accounting, areas of finance, revenue management, casino. We're thinking about how do we architect solutions that are tight and can really unlock those more advanced capabilities while meeting all the operational needs of the company.
Yeah, I've noticed that you've helped to instill a belief, I think, inside the company that you guys can do digital transformations. And I don't know that belief was there before. That's been my impression. So kudos to you and the team for really making that mindset even possible. I think that's one of the most important things you need in doing these types of transformations. You got to believe you can do it first, and you've certainly given everybody that belief. You talked about Gen AI. It wasn't there when we started. In 2021, I'm sure some people knew this was coming. Most of us didn't. Happened a year later, right? It came out. Hitakshi, a question for you. How has this all changed everything now, right? Like looking forward, we've got this amazing new technology and capabilities. It's built right into Snowflake. As an AI company at Tredence, how do we think about these new technologies and capabilities looking forward with respect to the work we're already doing around personalization and customization, CDPs and that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question, right? Generative AI has changed everything, and you have to look at everything differently. But yet, you need all of the same things you were thinking about earlier. You need to get the right data. You need to be able to have high quality data, well-governed data to be able to even start on a generative AI journey. And when you start thinking about generative AI, you'll see a lot of companies do this as, let's do a pilot here, let's do a use case there. But the way we think about it is more as a platform that enables generative AI across the organization. So how do you set this up in a way that can be repeatable? You're doing use cases that can be moved into production. You have a way of experimenting, a way of testing out new ideas, running it for different teams, allowing teams to build their own little tests, and then setting up this in production across the enterprise that gives these capabilities to everyone.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a real pleasure to hang out and have a great conversation around a really interesting problem. So, Ronaldo, thanks for coming over. Whitney, thank you for flying down from Atlanta for the day trip. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate the time. I think if I were to summarize what we've learned today, it's that, what started off as a marketing analytics problem in the summer of 2021, when we first got started with this engagement, has turned into a much bigger opportunity for Norwegian Cruise Lines to use their data in a very different way, to kind of think differently about how they use their customer data and make it a very customer-centric, data-driven organization. Some of the things we've learned about what you have to do these types of implementations and these transformations, change management is absolutely critical. Ronaldo's been fantastic with he and his team implementing the change at Norwegian. We've seen it firsthand. You have to have the right partner, technology partners. And I think the decision to choose Snowflake in 2020, 2021, when that decision was made, was a very foresightful. I think just seeing how Snowflake has adopted and adapted to the changes in generative AI over the last 2 years and how that's available for customers to use on the platform is incredible. So a lot of foresight there, and very great choice of a technology partner to go with Snowflake. And the data model itself, if you're going to do this type of work, very customer-centric data analysis and making your customer the center of your business, you got to have a really good data model, especially when you have multiple brands and you got a lot to juggle there. So I think having a very good data model, a unified model strategy is super important. So I just want to wrap that up and just again say thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation today. I hope the audience got something out of it and can learn something from everybody here, this wealth of knowledge that's in the room. And it's been fun for me to listen and learn from you guys, and really appreciate your time. And best of luck. And I really can't wait to see what you guys are able to do in that next 3 years of the journey as well. So good luck, Ronaldo. And again, thank you for everything today. Appreciate it.